Now you can see my slide, eh? All right. So basically, we have talked about, sexuality, and basically the definition whenever you're talking about sex and sexuality, this would be more or less, in a qualitative study, this seems to be the one that is defining sexuality. But you will realize this is very much purely physical. And let me remind you that actually sexuality has at least 5 dimensions. Number one is actually the physical dimension. This is the anatomy, the biology, the physiology. So everybody seems to be like going there whenever you're talking about sexuality. However, the most important dimension I would say would be the cognitive dimension, the intellectual component of it. Because the most important sexual organ, brothers and sisters, is actually the brain. It's just like your hand, your eyes, and your feet. And the brain is the one that is going to govern, whatever you're going to do with all these organs, including the reproductive organs. Yeah. And of course, we don't forget about the emotion. And this means, sexuality has to be sort of discussed with a positive emotion, love, belonging, sense of esteem, and of course, feeling being trusted and respected rather than being hurt, or being betrayed, and a lot of trauma that comes with it. But don't forget about the emotions of, I'm sorry, yeah? We have to talk about sexual pleasure as well, the erotic component of it, where human being will feel this kind of emotion that is nowhere else to be found, so, and this seems to be something that we do not want to talk about. And because of that, we have a lot of issue. And how do we talk about this to our children? Yeah, but definitely that is part of the important dimension. And then of course, the social aspect, because we need to talk about sexuality because we have to interact with others. We don't really have to talk about it if we are just living alone in our own island, or, maybe living a life of a hermit at the top mountain. But this is when you are interacting with people who is your age, or maybe belongs to your family or outside of your family, and those who are with same gender or opposite gender, older or younger than you. Okay. And finally, to me, this is the most important, is the spiritual dimension of it. You need to know where you are from, your genealogy and your family lineage. This is so important. Hence, this is actually when you're talking about sexualities, considering your body, your thoughts and your feelings, the values and the beliefs, the relationships and the gender. So to me, this is empowering enough. And whenever I'm actually, emphasizing this to parents, they suddenly feel that, oh, okay, now fine. So if my children are going to ask me about sexuality, then I quickly have to, just go through that and say, oh, most of it, Dr. Har, would be in the cognitive region. Yes. Yeah, and that is actually not just about, having sex or having physically sexual. So that is, this is where I want to bring you to, that it is going to empower you to take charge and to take control about where this education is going to. And of course, there's a lot of component of it, even jurisprudence, politics, and ethics is part of it. Yeah. So attitudes towards sexuality. So basically, we have to sort of understand that as in so many other things, you would have, these extremes in the spectrums, yeah, and of course the balance stand, which is in between. And of course, it's very easy to be, gravitated to the extreme, brothers and sisters. It's so easy. It's so simplistic. You don't even have to think much. But for you to be in the middle, to be balanced, that is where you really need to use a lot of your brain energy. Okay. So we can either be conservative, and this is where most likely for, this part of the world where we come from, where sex is taboo, is dirty, it's shameful. So you should not be talking about it. Or sex reflects moral decadence and impurity. And it's actually, hence abstinence and celibacy is the highest form of purity. So this is so restrictive, and to me it's pretentious. This is not even instinctive, okay? But of course, when you have this kind of attitude for that has been quite dominant, and then you actually going to push people, the pendulum is going to swing to the other direction, and you have this liberalized attitude where sex is a form of sex expression, and it is focusing mainly, for desire and erotic pleasure. So there shouldn't be any limitation, restriction, or regulation, and no string attached. So it's total freedom. Okay, no boundaries. So of course, when you are so restrictive, and then you can only have that reaction. And now, we really have to think hard that this balanced attitude where you would be, empowered enough to be in control. Because sex is definitely an important component, yeah, and it is an aspect of human instinct. But in this balanced attitude, we emphasize more on the responsibility, the duties, the genuine, sincere love and respect, and definitely we know that it requires moderation and regulation for it to be beneficial. So when you stand in this middle ground, okay, these two people in the extremes, the two groups are not going to be happy about the Saifuddin. And it is when you know that you are on the right track. Of course, the conservative will always think that, no, you are still very liberalized to us. You still talk about it. You shouldn't be talking about it. But of course, the liberals will still feel, oh, Dr. Harlina, you're still a Taliban, because you still talk about marriage. So, brothers and sisters, if you are in that situation, be rest assured that you are actually on the right track. Okay. So, and so definitely, sexuality is a very delicate issue. To me, the analogy would be like this raw eggs, when you want to, you just squeeze it, it will still break, or you want to just let it go, it will just still break as well. Even if you want to make it hard boiled, brother, but it will still be quite fragile, when you're looking at this. So now, related to our topic today is about sexuality education. So that's why you have, this range as well. For those who are from the conservative bloc, it is total blackout. Don't talk about it. Or abstinence only curriculum. And the main aim is to restrict sexual desire, and more or less dealing with the original sin. Okay. But for the liberalized, where you are now, and then you have sex education on the Netflix. Okay. And then it's focusing on, physical gratification, yeah, and emotion of sexualities, and the main component of sexual desire and eroticism. This becoming the major focus of that education. Hence, today, I would like to put this comprehensive sexuality education as, coming up from the balanced attitude where we are emphasizing on the 3R: responsibility first, and then rights. As compared to the liberal, is always rights, yeah, rights to the human wrongs, and that is not what we are teaching our children and ourselves. And of course, we need to respect those rights. So it is age specific, it is values and culture sensitive, and it has to be scientifically accurate. You do not want all this myth and bizarre, understanding, and which is always very common within the two spectrum, yeah, and the two extreme. So this is actually comprehensive sexuality education. I'm defining it using a standard definition. Yeah, it includes age-appropriate, medically accurate information and culturally sensitive element on a broad set of topics. Yeah, human development, relationship, decision making, abstinence and sexual intercourse, contraception, disease prevention. Of course, this is a sexually transmitted disease and related to that. And this education will provide learners with opportunity to develop skill. So this is capacity building, Brother Saifuddin. It's not just, a body of knowledge, or content. It is also coming up with skills, yeah? And this is the framework. It has to be age appropriate and specific, very important. It must be laden with values and also must be culturally sensitive. And it is also scientifically accurate, yeah, in terms of the information. It is evidence-based. So this is the framework. And why do we have to teach this comprehensive sexuality education? Now, this is just the four main things. You have so many other reasons. One is to develop self-identity and self-worth. Because you see, sexuality aspect, Brother Saifuddin, has so much relation to self-esteem and self-actualization. The Maslow hierarchy of human needs is actually the top two levels, yeah? Unfortunately, and because of this, we have so many problems of psychopaths or, abusers that actually have this issue about developing their self-identity and self-worth. And even to me, sexual orientation is also, rooting from here, okay? So this is also one of the most important reasons, particularly when you're empowering the adolescent, is for them to make wise decisions related to sexuality. Because whatever decision that they're going to, make today as an adolescent is going to have a lifelong impact on their, their future. So that's why this decision making is so important. And of course, to prevent sexual exploitation, I'm not going to waste my time talking about all the sexual exploitation that we have here now, in the digital technology. And of course, this is another one is actually to make sure that there will be an effective care for sexual and reproductive health. So that might be where I come from, by the Saifuddin. That was my initial beginning. Okay, but definitely have expanded, to looking into comprehensive sexuality education as what we need today. And what does the Quran say about this? Well, basically, I have been challenged in so many platforms. Okay, tell me where in the Quran that sexuality education is important. Well, I do not know, brother. Yeah, but if you look into al-mu'minun, qad aflaha al-mu'minun. Yeah, great is the victory for the mu'min who has all these character. One of it, in verses 5 and 6, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ, those who actually safeguard their private parts. And how can you safeguard your private parts if you do not have knowledge about that? So another one is, every parents would know this, that Rasulullah SAW suggested, or more or less order us to teach our children to pray by the age of 7. This is the time where you start to have cognitive, yeah? And then punish them lightly, if they still refuse to do so at the age of 10. And in that hadith, separate them in their beddings, yeah, in their bed arrangement. And this is particularly between boys and girls because they have reached the age of tamiz, the age of, understanding, the difference. So this is part of sexuality education. Another one in Surah An-Nur, verse 58, everybody knows this, about observing these private moments, these 3 private moments, where most of us, when we are, with together with our spouse, this is the time where our aurat will be most probably, uncovered. So this is to me, indirectly, it's telling us that we really have to discuss about this, okay? And of course, when you're just now, when you're teaching your children for salat, you have to teach them for wudu, and you have to tell them, what will sort of nullify the wudu, and that is the, menstruation, and then semen, ejaculation. So you have to start talking about it, Brother Saifuddin. Once your kid is reaching 7, okay, we cannot escape this, yeah. So now, what are the content? So in this comprehensive sexuality education, there are basically key concepts, and for that, I'm referring to this UNICEF and UNESCO. Some of you might say, "What you refer to this?" No, look, I've been in this for quite some time now, almost 20 years. Now, what coming from UNICEF, UNESCO, initially was so much in the liberal attitude or group. It's always like safe sex, and they realize, of course, a major part of the world cannot accept that. Okay, and then they spend a lot of money, and it is not being taken up by the countries. So they actually see that it has to be now comprehensive, and this is published in 2018. You can just Google this, and you can get the PDF copy of this from their website, UNICEF and UNFPA, if I'm not mistaken. So, and this to me empower me further because now I can see that there is 8 key concepts. Before this, it is just mainly the last 3, brother. Human body development, sexual behavior, and then of course sexual and reproductive health. And that is where I and most of my friends came from. But then we realized that there are other concepts that we need to highlight. And relationship is so important. And to me, it facilitates, you in this delivery when you focus on relationship as well. So this is, to me, as somebody who is right there, the activist, this is really empowering us because now we can look into this area. Now, what are the key concepts in the relationship is always about family. So as early as maybe in the first 2 years, your children starts to recognize you as the father and the mother. That is so important. So what does a mother do? Okay, and what does a father do? So that is something that you can instill within the first 2 years. Okay, and who are people who are not really your parents, but they are your family. And who are those people who are strangers? So this one, and then of course, when your children starts to grow, they starts to have friends. And here is friendship, love, romantic relationship. And then of course, it's tolerance, inclusions, and respect. Okay, this is a very big topic that we want to talk about. And then another key concept is this: values, rights, culture, religion. What is so important to this family, and how does it reflect, and related to sexuality? Then, of course, gender. Unfortunately, some of you might say, "Oh, gender, this will be LGBT." I don't think that is that is really how the way we think now, Brother Saifuddin. Here in Malaysia, I'm still having this. You know, whenever gender, oh, Dr. Harlina, you're talking about LGBT, we're very friendly towards the, oh my God. So now it is actually understanding your role. What is really meant to be a woman or a man. And you will realize that it actually changes by the way where you are. Okay, I'm sure you all who have migrated or being now living in the state, and when you come back, you see the difference there. Okay, and that dynamic of gender, you know, the social construct, stereotype of bias, and of course we have to talk about violence, and that become another topic or key concept by itself. Unfortunately, you know, we have to talk about this, and this is where, you know, all the digital technology and communication comes in. And of course, number 5 is a generic skill, but it actually more applicable definitely when you particularly in making decision just now, brother. And of course, 6 is human development, and then sexuality and sexual behavior. And this is where most likely we need to discuss about the eroticism. Are you going to really exploit it and become addictive to it, or what? Okay. And then of course sexual reproductive health. So brother, this is actually the content. Yeah. And for us Muslims, we have a lot that you can refer to, you know, particularly Tarbiyatul Aulad fil Islam. Chapter 7, if I'm not mistaken, is specifically emphasizing. And in fact, here in Malaysia, we have, you know, some writer who actually pull out that chapter and make it into a separate booklet. So that's pendidikan seks dari perspektif Islam, and but this is referring to Abdullah Nasir Hulwan content. And this is very new, sexuality education from an Islamic perspective. I just received this, and this is been published by Cambridge. And this is a lot more, as an academician, I actually look into this for all the references and the evidence base. You know, remember the scientifically accurate information? Yeah, we really have to get that. So this is basically what happened in the Tarbiyatul Awlad fil Islam. It will actually choose this kind of phase. Sorry, this is in Malay. I haven't had the time to translate this one. But you basically in Tarbiyatul Awlad, it actually divide into 4 phases when you want to deliver the education into tamyiz, start from 7 to 9, and then murahaqah, this is 10 to 13. So this is really when they're approaching their puberty. Some of them would have actually gotten their menses, yeah, or even have their ejaculation for boys. Bulugh is really the time 14 to 16, and this is where Abdullah Nasir Ulwan emphasized that they have to know about sexual intercourse, and of course during the youth, where this is after the phase of bulugh. Okay, so this is when they're becoming young adults, yeah. And actually, I have arranged the slide, sorry, but this is coming in the how. It has to be age-specific comprehensive sexuality education. So basically start from 0 to 2. I'm sorry, brother Saifuddin, that will be another hour. Usually I have this for 5 hours, but staggered, you know. So we'll look into 0 to 2 and 3 to 5. This is the most difficult because they will ask you a lot of questions. What are you doing in the room, Mami? Yeah, and why did I find out that both of you are taking shower together? Where did you know, maybe you know, particularly when they are having their younger siblings, where did he come from? How on earth that maybe goes into your tummy, Mami? So that is the question in 3 to 5, okay? And of course 6 to 7, this is the time where they start to have friends, you know, and their friends are really very special, you know, and these friends are going to introduce them to so many things, okay? And of course, by the age of 8 to 12, there is the 4 years of this whole exercise of bulugh and you know, puberty. And of course, when they become 13 to 15, okay, this is where sexual exploration is the main thing. They want to know, okay? And it's not just for girls, they will actually read books because they will go into imagination, but now no more because they can easily, you know, answer all those questions through the device. And of course, the boys, for a very, you know, from time memorable, it's actually, you know, these boys would always want to see. That's why there's such thing as peeping Tom, Brother Saifuddin. There's no peeping Jane or peeping Mary. Okay, so, and of course, now they don't have to peep anymore. Okay, and of course, when they reach and older and of adolescent, where they are more matured, more or less, or having their own thinking. This is 16 to 19. Yeah. So basically, this is a very interesting topic to go by. Yeah. But I'm sorry, for the interest of time, I just need to just mention this. And so this is what Tarbiyatul Aulad has said about these 4 phases. And now, okay, uh, parents are definitely the best teachers for CSE, not school teacher. To me, sexuality education cannot be taught in school like how you teach maths or science or geography or maybe history or chemistry. No, that one, if the parents are illiterates, you can still teach these children and they become best student in maths class. But not sexuality education. The school are mainly just assisting in the dimension of socialization, Brother Saifuddin. But the rest, or maybe in the physical, because you might not be so well versed in all this biology, but this is not like medical biology. It's just naming the parts of your body, and it's still becoming within our territory. So of course we have to understand the parenting styles that we have. I'm going to talk more about this, and another part about how to go through helping your children in the parental challenge in the next forum. But basically, you know you must be very honest in looking into what is your parenting style, your predominant parenting style. Okay, of course we use all these style, Brother Saifuddin, but some of us are more comfortable delivering one style, and that become your dominant style. But to me, for comprehensive sexuality education, we definitely have to be in that blue quadrant, where it is actually authoritative, where there's a lot of discussion, and you are more or less in control, yeah, but not really like in the autocratic tiger mom or tiger dad, but this is more of empowering them and helping them to make decisions. So this is definitely the right parenting style for comprehensive sexuality education. And of course, these parenting tips, yeah, from my reference, it most probably come from Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. I'm sorry if it's otherwise, but basically it is divided into these 7 blocks. Okay, 7 years block. So the first one is by playing, and that is mainly because of the physical dependence of your children. And this is where in sexuality education you must know, they must more or less know their body parts, and they must know which parts cannot be touched by anybody, and then what are the safe and unsafe. So this is actually in this area. Okay, and then of course the 7 to 13, remember that hadith just now, this is discipline, adab. And this is when your children are dependent on you for cognitive guidance. They always want to know why they have to do that, and they have a lot of questions during this time. And of course, 40, and this is a time where they might realize they are starting to grow, and they start to have some kind of changes physically, and they need to know that they are approaching their puberty. So there's a lot of discipline and regulation here. And of course, if that happens well, disciplining with love is very easy to be your children's friend, yeah, and best friend during this time. At 14 to 20, this is the third block, and this is definitely where adolescents have a lot of issue with their emotions. Is this love, or is this what? Why do I feel very, pleasurable to just stimulate myself? So you need to be their best friend in order for them to be able to open up. Yeah? And of course, after the age of 21, you need to treat your children as young adults, and this is where they start to take their place in the society. Yeah. So these are the references, brother. I use these references. I bought this in New York because this is not this is being censored in Malaysia. Yeah. Even though it's just all illustrated. I do not know how many of you actually had this, but I had the whole set when my children were small, and we actually went through this as our bedtime story. Sorry, okay. And to me, yeah, Robbie Harris has actually made a lot of study and experience in order to talk on these certain areas. Yeah, and of course when they are older, they can read this on their own. And I particularly feel that this is our ijtihad, me and my husband, so when there are all illustration in this, and definitely there's this illustration from a 1-year-old baby girl into a 90-year-old grandmother, as without any clothes. But that to us, uh, um, those are teaching aid material. So it is not pornography. But of course, my neighbor, another doctor who's living next door, when the children came in and they saw this book, wow, they said, ooh, Shamil, that is actually my son. Wow, you have a lot of obscene storybook here. So and at that point of time, my son was more or less, that was the first time he heard about obscene. The word obscene. Apparently, we never used it. I'm not saying that we are very good, no, but I realized at the age until age of 10, that was the first time that he was introduced to that word. Yeah. So of course the nice thing is the cartoons, brother. The sperm trip and how this ovulation, or the ovum waiting for the. And I guess being a doctor, I have an advantage of making this into something, very dramatic. Okay. Now the what? This is the final part. What are the products of an effective delivery of comprehensive sexuality education? And the content goes there. So basically, there's a lot of research. If you look into that UNICEF document, it has a dedicated chapter on just, the evidence-based benefit of a comprehensive sexuality education. One of it is this: you can actually prevent unintended pregnancy among the adolescent, and it's about 50% less. Yeah. And of course, okay, what are the products? This is what we aim for. Individuals who are saleh, salehah, wa musleh, muslehah. They are not just good, they are also able to make islah for others. Yeah. So individuals who make good and sound decisions related to their sexuality, and society with appropriate conduct, safeguarding their genealogy and family lineage. Yeah. And this is our aim. Salehah, yeah, saleh, salehah, wa musleh, muslehah, group of young people and generation. This my last slide, brother Saifuddin. This is my family from my arwah father's side. There are about 250 of us. This is just half of that. And sexuality education or comprehensive sexuality education is a lifelong learning process. Everyone from the youngest to the oldest would really still need to learn about all this, because our biological needs changes, our emotional needs all changes, and that by itself requires us to have a sound aspect of knowledge and skill to deal with that in the aspect of our sexuality. So with that, I thank you, and maybe I pass it over to you, brother Saifuddin. Thank you.
MashaAllah. I think you weren't kidding about the bullet train part. But Alhamdulillah, that was very, very interesting, especially me as a parent. So what I will do right now, I have a couple of questions that has been given to me directly. So yes, okay, if you want to ask, do you want to, Sister Winnie, is it? I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Do you want to type, or do you want to open your mic? Oh, you have to speak. Yeah, okay, go ahead. So let me try to...
Sister Winnie, is it? Winnie
Sister
Haryanto?
Winnie. So I need to find your name, and then I need to...
Oh, okay. Can they not unmute themselves?
No. So I have to unmute them. Go ahead.
You are the conservative
yes.
parent. Anyway.
Jazakallah khair.
Sister
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor, for the explanation. MashaAllah. I understand you tried to go through it quickly. My question is about the transgender issue. I feel like if I want to teach my kids, I have to understand it myself. I can understand intellectually like homosexuality, the tendency or attraction, but I can't really understand the transgender. For example, like when I was in college, I have friends who are female, who are masculine, but then now in our 40s, I see them married and so on. I always thought they're just tomboys, And so I'm trying to understand that now when they say, oh, I'm I'm not a girl, I'm a boy, or I'm not a boy, but I'm a girl. That I guess
Trapped
I'm
in a
trying to
different
understand that.
body.
Yes.
Mm.
Is that a
Okay.
genuine thing, or is that because they're a tomboy and then now they see, because of all the talk around
Yeah.
them, oh, it's an option to be something different? Or is it
Okay.
genuine, or is it like an influence of society, or is it both?
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair.
Maafkanlah khair, Winnie. I guess you have the answer, right, Sister Winnie. Most probably, okay, as a doctor, when I was learning to be a doctor, homosexuality was categorized in the personality disorder. So there's some kind of uh, confusion, we said. But nowadays you cannot say that they are not confused. They say, yeah. But that was the time where there might not be an outlet or a way that the society look at it as an option. But now definitely it's an open book. Everybody can just declare they no longer have to be in the closet. And but basically, if you look into masculinity and femininity rather than looking at the the biological characteristic of men and women, men being having this male genitalia and women having the female genitalia, that female masculinity and femininity basically is in all of us. Okay, we definitely have estrogen for women, and that's the dominant hormone, but we still have our testosterone, and that testosterone is important. Okay, likewise for men as well, and some might have a little bit more of this in terms of the balance, and then you might display some kind of more masculinity than the femininity that you are supposed to display. And that is where gender become an issue of social construct. Okay, but of course, I'm sure, Sister Winnie, you have friends who are definitely more tomboyish, and guys who are more or less having all these femininity things, in his life and in his character. So, but that does not sort of uh, take them out of the context of being male biology and female in terms of biology. But of course, when likewise when you're talking about gender and women being the always the second class, subordinated, subjugated, that kind of words, and now it is most likely because of our biological responsibility of bearing children, and hence pregnancy, and delivery and postnatal care becoming something that those are liabilities for women. So then there is another mindset. So to me, yeah, the way to answer this is definitely now it is easier to sort of just resort to saying that I am actually a man trapped in a woman's body, or vice versa. And then not only that, I can change my gender. In fact, I can start to take place into the world as such. And and if you have a friend like that, Sister Winnie, it's quite interesting to actually listen, or most probably trying to go deep into their experience. I think I have heard one listen to a TED talk by a man who has changed into a woman, but a white man changing into a white woman, and then now speaking about woman empowerment, because she has actually experienced it both. Okay, so basically the topic about transgender is another area about sexual orientation, and I think we need to start discussing this quite openly among us. But I think it is definitely possible if you have the right attitudes towards sexuality. If you are coming from the two extreme, it is still definitely not going anywhere. But if you are looking into it from the perspective of this balance and empowering and in control, so you might get some kind of solution. In other words, there are among us who might feel that they would be better off being a man, for instance, or another man who feels that they might be better off being a woman. But then, because of this understanding about our role in this world, and of course in the hereafter, so those are things that become a personal conquest or personal sacrifice within them. And may Allah give them the strength and the reward for that. Okay, so in a way, we are not so restrictive as in the conservative group, but definitely not going to be so liberalized. But we acknowledge this. You see, there are brothers and sisters who have to fight this, and they are having a lot of psychological conflict as well. But may Allah give them strength. Yeah. And may Allah reward them for that. So we have to understand that as well, and be very ready to sort of empathize, yeah, with people who are having this problem. But it is not majority actually. It is more or less involving just like how a diabetic might have insulin deficiency. So this might be somebody with this, psychological and emotional deficit that we need to help. So I'm sorry, but I'm still at the, being trained 30 years ago. I'm still thinking that those sexual orientation issue has to be looked upon as some kind of disorder. So, okay, there you are. All right. Those people who are from the liberal camp would definitely hit me there. And Harlina is a Taliban. But yeah, I remain as a Taliban in this area, Brother Saifuddin.
Okay, thank you very much. And I hope that pretty much answer your question, Sister Winnie. Although I think it's a good idea if we have another topic on the transgender, inshallah, in the future. So I have a couple of questions that I compiled, and then I have PM'd you, Dr. Harlina. So do you want to go over them?
Okay, that's quite a lot. Okay, I think mainly it's about the LGBT. I can understand that. I'm more or less expecting this, brothers and sisters, but maybe this would be taken up in the next Mutamar, with somebody who really, have in-depth knowledge and experience in this. And otherwise, it would not do justice to just, cram it all here. I think there's a lot of questions. But this can be taken up by the organizer as another topic next year.
We'll take
because when I came through, this is the only topic about sexuality, as if we have no issue. But look at that questions. These are the issues that the Muktamar has to solve. Okay. That's about the list of book, Brother Saifuddin. Maybe I can show that slide again. Yeah.
Maybe you can later on give us the list. And then I think even me myself, I would like to buy them.
Yeah, you can buy that. And unlike in Malaysia, the books are censored, so you can easily get that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But remember, I bought that in 2000. When my children were small, so it's 2005 or 2006. In New York when I went there for the United Nations meeting, but at the same time, the book, which is just by its side, just in the rack, was about rather than the king and the queen, the king and the king, and mama and daddy. It is mama and mommy, and daddy and papa. So they are actually, of course, that was like 14 years ago. So now, can you imagine, Sister Winnie? It is all within the fabric of the society because it has. As I'm saying, even at the age of kindergarten years, that ideology, what is okay, if your parents are of the same gender, okay, that has happened like 20 years ago. So you can see the product now. So of course we cannot wait anymore. We have to start now. Otherwise, it will be our children is going to be, especially when they are now out of your house. Okay, and that's why you have to be the best educator, the best sexuality education educator in that sense. Otherwise, you might lose your children to what is happening in the society.
I think there are a few other questions. Number one, Islam perspective on birth control. What is the Islam's perspective on birth control? You have around 15 more minutes. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now about birth control. Okay, definitely. Among other decision making that your children have to make is actually, now whether they want to engage in sexual relationship or not, and they might make that decision without you knowing. And hence, I guess the most difficult fact that Muslim parents have to face these days, particularly living in a very, liberalized environment in terms of sexuality, like like you all. would be most likely your children would have made that decision long ago, and you might not have known that because there was definitely no way that your children is going to tell you. Uh, and if that happens, so I might have to show you one more slide, which is quite controversial actually, Brother Saifuddin. But since you have 15 minutes here, so I think
Yeah.
I can look into that.
Go ahead. I think.
Okay, hold on. While I'm not preparing that slide yet, so
Okay.
let me see. Yeah, here. Let me just get the slide first. This is actually when you have to know, that if we have to intervene according to what your children experience. So if they are already sexually active, you need a different form of intervention and as compared to those who are not yet. Okay, so I'm sorry, that might be the hardest part where you realize that your children is actually having another decision, and that decision is not within what you would need. So I'm sure some of your parents here might have that difficulty now. Okay, and how do you deal with that? Okay, let me. Yeah, that's it. Uh, this is in relation to right? This is in relation to teenage pregnancy, Brother Saifuddin. Yeah,
I
and that
see.
is actually my area. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Uh, I always show this to parents because they will realize how is the problem. Okay, teenage pregnancy is definitely unintended, unwanted, yeah, and it always end up with 4 A's, yeah, because it is either abortion, okay, or acceptance. Acceptance means you marry them off usually, and then you will get into child marriage and the issues. Okay, another A is adoption, and that's not easy through the legal means, and hence most probably sometimes you just opt for baby trafficking, okay, and selling of babies. And of course the other A is abandonment, and unfortunately in Malaysia this is definitely an issue where there'll be abandoned babies, either intended to be found alive or to be dead. Okay, so that is infanticide. So this is how you look at it chronologically and also with the intervention. You see, prior to sexual debut, before the children are sexually engaged or sexually active, you can actually use all this educational program. Either it's abstinence only or CSE, and you can even educate the parents to be more open in this, in discussing this. But unfortunately, once the adolescents are sexually active, they have their first sexual intercourse. I'm afraid that might not be useful anymore or effective. Uh, 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 it is not so effective anymore. And there will be a window period, yeah, between sexual intercourse and pregnancy. You might think that no, they can actually become pregnant in the first intercourse, yes, but that's very few actually. Most of our teenagers who are pregnant, they are pregnant because they actually have sexual intercourse as frequent as a married couple. It's like twice or 3 times a week, and hence definitely they can become pregnant, very easily, or the chances to be pregnant is very high. But let's say they are not yet pregnant, yeah. Sorry, I think this the I think the formatting, yeah. This is pre-pregnancy. The most important intervention is definitely contraception, yeah. And okay, the first one is safe sex for marriage. But once they are sexually active, then you have to resort to this in order to prevent pregnancy. I'm not talking from the Islamic cultural aspect. I'm just talking as a from the pragmatic view of a practitioner. Okay, so now for me to prevent teenage pregnancy, then contraception become a very important and effective, a cheap way of dealing with this. So if they are going to have sex, but they have to know how to prevent pregnancy, and this is where unfortunately contraception has to be considered here. So this is what I have a few parents, who comes to me saying that their kids are now sexually active, their boys are sexually active. So I just have to say you need to teach them how to use this. Okay, and I hope I'm not saying that, oh, I'm condoning that every kid. So to me, this has to be taught, even to kids who are not sexually active, because they are the one who need to tell their friends, at least to help their friends. And not only that, they are now having, that empowered knowledge, and they know this, okay? And of course, we want our children to be, leaders who they are not doing it, but they can also help their friends. And of course, this is so kind, Brother Saifuddin, in terms of the boys, because all my interventions so far for 20 over years are just focusing on the girls. Girls has to cover themselves. Girls have to learn how to taekwondo. Girls have to, don't walk alone. It's all girls. What about the boys? The boys have to be taught how to be responsible as well. So this is actually contraception. And then, of course, when they are pregnant, in early part of their pregnancy, now they can detect pregnancy even at 5 weeks or 6 weeks pregnant. Then, of course, abortion become an option, a very practical option. Of course, in US, most likely, this is no issue because there's abortion clinic everywhere, but not in Malaysia. But of late, I have to listen to my friend crying, and that, well, these are friends who never contacted me for a very long time. So no news means good news. But once you see that name coming up in your handphone, there must be something serious here. And when she just says salam, and then she cried and cried, so I know. And then I don't even have to ask. And then the next question is, how do you know of any clinic that I can go for abortion? And now I know this is not for herself, and we cry together. So this is an option, particularly if you are a parent and now your girl who is 13, 14, 15, just found out that she's pregnant and it's about 5 weeks. The first thing you have in your mind is, where is the clinic that can terminate this pregnancy? Now, of course, there are girls who are, quite advanced. They miss the time for abortion. This is where they might have to be rehabilitated, and this is where the shelter homes that I was I'm still the board of directors of Ratu Sakina, and this might be a shelter homes, where they need to be rehabilitated. But for the teenagers, by yourself, this is an incarceration. This is just prison. Okay, and then this is not just one stop where they just have their baby and then return back to school. There's a lot of things we have to deal with this, but this is actually for those one. Now, of course, when post delivery, they have to choose either accepting it, or adopting, giving the baby for adoption, or if they do not have much choice, they will just abandon the baby. So, about the question of contraception, so there is actually the need to consider it, when you are looking at the whole spectrum, brothers and sisters. Yeah. So I'm sorry if this this strategy is quite disturbing. But again, if you are coming from the conservative, end, you will find this very outraging. But if you are coming from the liberalized spectrum, you still see this to be still very, very constrictive and restrictive. Okay.
Allah, thank you. I don't know, such a quite short question can spend a long answer, but thank you very much, Dr. Ha. I want to just maybe two more questions. I know there's a lot more questions. So number one is by Brother Abdullah Harun. How do you suggest as a parent to start talking about sex when they ask the parent when they have a problem? So that's number one. And number two, I'm not sure whether you would want to answer it because it's a fiqh question. Question number 5. In USA, touching themselves is considered okay, but not in Islam. If our kids get into this habit, how do we help them to live it wisely? They denied it, getting into the habit. So
let me answer Brother Abdullah Harun first.
Okay.
When do you start talking about it? Well, as I said, it is age specific, but of course you have to treat each and every one of your kid exclusively. Some of them, the best way is when they start to ask questions, and then that can be as early as 3, or maybe 4. Okay, but some of your kids are just pure, they don't even ask that. Even at the age of 7 or 8, then you start to get worried as well, because they might not ask you because they already gotten all the answer. Then you have to really check, okay? But but again, yeah, Brother Abdullah, it depends on your relationship with the kid, with the child. If you have spent enough time playing with them, so that they really trust their parents, yeah, and they start to see their parents as the source of wisdom, and the guru that can answer everything. So of course, they will ask you this question. But then once they ask, yeah, Brother Abdullah, this is the time where you start to find the answer. Now let me just share my experience. Of course, yeah, when my son is 4 years old, I actually asked him whether I can tell this story. He's now 23, and he said, "Okay, Umi." All right, so I was actually, with him. He was taking his bath, and he asked me this question. Yeah, he said, "Umi," and I actually teach my children to name all the genitalia parts with the medical terms, brother. Brother Saifuddin, I'm a doctor. Okay, it's penis, it's vagina, it's clitoris. Okay, well, of course, to mention that in our Malay terms, somehow because I most probably when I was brought up, that is actually obscene. Yeah, it's all obscenities, kan, lucha, kan, mencarut. So, and then we use the Arabic terms, hoping that it is getting better. So zakar, faraj. It's up to you. But I teach my children the medical terms. So, he was with me. I was cleaning his body, and he said, "Umi, do you like my penis to be short or long?" At 4 years old. So I was stunned there. Oh my God. And then, my instinct is just to smack him or just, no, you don't talk like that. But like, come on. And I'm Dr. Harlina. People actually ask me, it happened to me. So what do I do? So I said, okay, hold on. I pushed my pause button and said, look, this is a very brilliant and intelligent boy who realized and observed that there's some part of his body that can change in size. And he just wanted me to know. Okay. So how do I answer that? Of course, at the age of 4, penis is mainly to pee. It's for your number 1. Okay. And of course, what is the problem then for a 3 and a 4 years old? Particularly when they want to zip their jeans, Brother Saifuddin, and then this penis get trapped in between. And, sometimes, they hurt themselves. So I said, okay, I like it both short or long, but you know how important this penis is to you? Because this is how you pee. And I found that explaining that in English is easier than talking in Bahasa Melayu, most probably. Not to say that I downgrade my Bahasa Melayu, definitely no, but I find that easier. And then I said, that's why you have to make sure that you look after it well, particularly when you want to put on your jeans, yeah, and your trousers, because this is so important and you cannot, uh, uh, hurt yourself there. Okay. He just said, okay, for a 4 years old, Brother Abdullah, that is enough. Okay. And of course, if he asks again, and then we deal with that. So I'm trying to tell you that some of your kids will ask you a lot of questions. And just be honest if you do not know what to answer, or they caught you, off guard. You can say, you know what, I need to find some answer so that I can give you the right answer. Can you just wait? And that is so important because your kids realize that they're not going to be given any answer like, okay, where did baby come from? Oh, we found him in the mall. That's not true. Of course he knows that's not true, but you are giving the answer and that's it. That will be the last time that he or she's going to ask you anything about that. Okay, particularly the stock and everything, the bees and the honey. I think that is you need to talk about this straight to the point. Okay, of course, once you deal with them in this age, playing with them, then you get into discipline. This is a bit more tricky, yeah, because they start to lie, they start to they know what is your, and they will actually go around you. They are very manipulative, but what is your role here is to say, look, whatever you want to, you want to exploit or you want to manipulate me, I am 10 steps ahead of you. Okay, because I'm your mother. This is very important in disciplining, particularly when there's 3D, Brother Saifuddin. There's disobedience, there's disrespect, and there is dishonesty. Kan? When you discipline, there's 3D, kan? Yeah? When they are dishonest, when they are disobedient, and when they are disrespectful. So these are things that you have to, and particularly, yeah, Brother Abdullah, you can actually discuss this, saying that I know you have a lot of questions. you can ask me and Umi or Mami. We will try to answer that. We might need to ask others, but we will do that for you. Okay, and your adolescent kids are going to watch this. Okay, and they will actually gauge whether you are really trustworthy or not. You know, you're whether they deserve their trust or not. But inshallah, brothers and sisters, if you play with your children, yeah, and then you discipline them with love, don't worry. When it comes to that, the third block, you know, where you need to be their best friend, you know, in that saying of the tips, be their best friend. It's not just friend. Yeah, qarib. You have to be very close to them. So this is the time where you can really guide, particularly for the second question. Yeah, when your children are actually, you know, touching themselves for pleasure. I do not know whether you can say that Islam prohibits that. Okay, but most probably, of course, anything in excess is going to harm. Yeah, but if maybe you're touching yourself in your own room, okay, and that is a way of exploring yourself. Now, brother, I might have quite a liberalized view here, but I have seen so many men and women who did not explore themselves. You know what I mean? And when they got married, they get into a lot of trouble. They don't even know, you know, how to most probably have the foreplay first and the hind play, or you know, this is something that I think comes up from that bit of I cannot touch myself. So I guess, you know, this is between you and yourself and Allah. Okay, and definitely if you do it in excess, you have a lot of wild thoughts. That is, you know, you have to ask forgiveness from Allah. But what is worrying now is that we are giving this impression that that is not Islamic, you know, and this starts to wonder, then why is it not Islamic? So I'm not saying that, okay, we now say, but Harlina says, okay for masturbation. And of course, this is a fiqh question. You have to direct that to the one, you know, who can answer you from that. But I'm sure, you know, you can actually get a lot of input from there so that our children would not live with that restrictive view that, you know, you are sinful, you are dirty, because that has a lot to do with their self-esteem and self-actualization later on. Brother Saifuddin, not an easy question to answer.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Dr. Harlina. So I think I'm sorry that I couldn't really allow Dr. Ha to answer the LGBT question, because as she said, we need a separate session for that. And hopefully, inshallah, we'll do that in the future. So I think Jazakallah khairan kaseera again, Dr. Ha, for this session. She will have another session in 10 minutes. Would you do it? MashaAllah. So I think I'm going to give Dr. Ha a break for a couple of for 6-7 minutes. Hopefully.
Yeah, I need to grab my breakfast, you know.
Yes, please do. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. There is another session after this. Please go ahead, Dr. Okay. There is another session after this with Dr. Rozaimi. And then if you guys want to join that session, please stay, inshallah. So I will close this session with Tasbih Kafara and Surah Al-An. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik wa al-'asri innal insana lafi khusr illa allazina amanu wa amilus solihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So see everyone in 7 p.m. Eastern, inshallah.